Are you one of the millions of people out there that are looking for ways to increase your financial freedom, but are unsure of where to start? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you some tips on how you can build wealth starting from zero. Hey everyone, thanks for coming to the channel. It's Steve here. Now, I have done a lot of research on the topic of wealth building over the years, and a lot of people that are starting their financial freedom path actually go down the wrong way first, and I'm gonna make sure that you don't make that same mistake. Rule number one of your wealth building journey, you have to start thinking about your income and not about just investing. Yes, investing is important, and we're gonna get to that. But if you don't have a good enough income level, you're probably not going to be able to afford the regular things in life or be able to actually put money away over time so that you can build up a nest egg and actually have wealth for yourself and your family. So in order to get this higher amount of income, it might mean that you have to go to a different field or job. It might mean that you have to go back to school or get some sort of certifications or some new degree of some type. It could be that you have to work your way up a corporate ladder, or it could be that you have to start your own business or increase your side hustle game. Whatever your current financial picture looks like, start thinking about ways where you can increase your amount of income, and that will definitely help you a lot more than trying to figure out the perfect investment strategy and the perfect investment vehicle for you to put your money away in. You know, we've heard stories about people becoming multimillionaires based on just a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year job. But that's extremely more hard than it would be to just simply increase the amount of income, especially at a younger age. The second tip for you today is to control your spending aggressively. This really just means you need to avoid lifestyle creep. Hopefully you've heard that term before, but that basically just means as you start making more money, you want to make sure that you keep your expenses lower and that you don't just start spending money on frivolous things that don't really add to your end financial goal. See, when you start making more money, you usually get around more people that are also making more money. And they have flashier things. They have fancier cars. They send their kids to private school. They have all the latest tech and gadgets and the nicer clothes. And you may think, ooh, I have to keep up with them, and I have to also live my life and buy all the things that they do. Well, that is a surefire way to stay broke, even though you are making a lot of money. There's people out there making millions of dollars a year that literally are living paycheck to paycheck. You don't want to be one of those people, trust me. So how do you do this? Well, you create a plan and then you stick to that plan even when your income level rises above what you thought it would. That means you have to have a budget. That means you have to have planning sessions with your spouse. It means you have to stay focused on the end goal in mind rather than getting distracted by the things that seem cool or important in that moment. Tip number 3 for you here, you need to build a solid financial foundation. What that means is you have to have some sort of starter emergency fund in case the water heater goes out or in case the car breaks down. You have to have a little bit of buffer room just so that you don't start borrowing money or taking out credit cards or other personal loans, thus wasting your hard-earned money on interest payment to the bank. So that also means if you have some current credit cards, personal loans, or student loan payments that have a high interest rate on them, you need to start eliminating those as soon as possible because you don't want to be wasting your money on interest. Eventually, you want to be the one getting interest and getting that compounding wealth over time. Tip number 4 here, invest early and consistently. Yes, it does depend on your income level, but you want to build that habit up front so that when you do start getting larger and larger amounts of income, you are not going to be trying to hit a home run every single time. You've built up that muscle memory of putting money away every week or every month or every quarter. And thus you are going to be much more used to the different types of investments that are out there, maybe something that worked for you previously, or maybe something that didn't work and you want to stay away from in the future. You know, the same thing could be said about being charitable or donating money. A lot of people think, oh, when I get rich, I'll just donate to whatever charities and I'll be very generous in my giving. But the actual fact is, if you are not being generous when you're broke, you're very likely not going to be generous when you have a lot of money either. The same thing is true for investing. If you hold off on investing and just save your money, or you're spending that money on frivolous things, then you're not going to be well disciplined when the time comes for you to be spending larger and larger amounts of money on those investments. You know, there's a story about an art professor who wanted to run an experiment on human performance. And so he took his art class and divided it in half. Group number 1 was told that for the next 30 days, they had to produce the most amount of clay pots as possible. And they would be judged and graded based on the number of clay pots that they produced over the next 30 days. Group number 2 of the class was told, you are supposed to produce the most perfect looking clay pot that you can in the next 30 days. And you will be graded on the perfection of that clay pot after 30 days. Well, group number 1 took their assignment and they said, okay, we're gonna start making clay pots. And at first they were kind of ragged and didn't look very good. And then over the weeks, they basically got way better. And they produced a ton of clay pots. Well, group number 2 started planning and researching and meeting about what would make the most perfect looking clay pot. What size would it be and what design elements should they include? They basically spent most of their time figuring out how to produce this one perfect clay pot. Well, at the end of the 30 days, the professor got both groups back together and looked at group number 1 and said, group number 1, you have produced all of these clay pots and you have actually been producing excellent clay pots here for the last couple of weeks. Bravo, A+. Group number 2, he looked and he saw the one clay pot that they had produced. And to be frank, it wasn't that great. It was okay, it was decent, but they had spent all of their time trying to figure out how to do it rather than actually doing it. And so they got a B-. So group number 1 not only produced all of their clay pots that they were told to, but they actually produced better clay pots than the one clay pot from group number 2. And that's the lesson we have to take away from. Even though you may not be ready, even though it may not be a lot of money right now, you have to start investing and you have to start building those skills. So when the time comes that you have a lot of money going into these investments, then you know what you're doing and you have the experience necessary in order to get that A+. You know, there's an old saying that Rome wasn't built in a day. And the same thing could be true for wealth building. You're not going to have great returns after 1 month or 1 year or maybe even 1 decade. But if you're consistent, if you stay disciplined, if you make sure that you have that end goal in mind and you're always heading towards it, even when things go up and down along the way, that's the way that you achieve long-term wealth and you're gonna have the life that you dream of. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, go ahead and leave a like down below or comment on where you are in your wealth building journey. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more information on building wealth, financial freedom, success, and motivation. Appreciate you guys for watching. We will see you in the next one. Peace.